Very important. So I hope everyone who will join this morning. Thank you, Sheila, for continuing to offer avenues for us to be able to self-explore through the tool of writing. It's really lovely. I know you have a lot on your plate. You make room. Thank you. The second thing is that City and I announced in our weekly email, but I just want to mention it again so you can get it on your calendar, that we are going to hold an in-person retreat January 21st, 22nd, and 23rd, 2023. So it's a Saturday, Sunday, Monday, somewhere in California. We have several different possibilities, and we're just looking at things and deciding what's going to work best. But we are just wanting everyone to get it on their calendar because we would love for as many of you as possible to join us to make it a full circle. So please put that down. So today I would like to speak about negative feelings, reactions, emotions, and the levels of that and how we might tend, if that is something coming through us, what does that look like and how might we tend it? Generally, negative feelings and emotions are unpleasant disruptions in our system. We all can relate to moments when we have had something happen where we've either spoken in ways we wished we hadn't, we've lashed out, we've done many different behaviors that afterwards we wish we had had more capacity to hold the situation. And we are dismissive of ourselves or critical of ourselves for not having done so. And so I want to talk a little bit about why it is that we may have some of those tendencies and how we might work through them. So the thing that we want to remember is that it's not just that it's unpleasant. Most of us can feel it's like a train running down a track and we cannot stop it. And you'll feel it coming when you're feeling anger or frustration or fear coming, and it generally comes through your solar plexus. You can feel it arising in you and you know, oh, here it is, but you cannot stop it. It's out of control. And what happens when that is going on is that it diminishes our ability to handle the situation, makes it difficult for us to function in the ways that we would like to show up in the world and show up for ourselves. It's disappointing for ourselves when we see that we're out of control. And negative emotions and reactions are generally coming from a state of out of control. We're not in control, not in a way that you have to cover up what's happening and control it, like not allow it to erupt, but in a way that you're not positively redirecting it. And it still may be a reaction, but you're managing it and handling it versus letting it manage and handle you. So we want to be in control in that way, but we want to allow it to be an expression of what is unspoken inside of us. So basically, there are two levels of negative thought and emotions. The first is the normal emotions that are heightened because and as a result of certain contexts and situations. And these are generally what we would call lower level emotions like frustrations, impatience, annoyance, things where it's not an escalation and it's not coming through us like that train wreck, but we are just like this about it. Something's just not quite flowing. And those come and go based on their situational. They talk about depression, and there are many different levels of depression, but there's situational depression when you've had a very large loss in your life or a shift that's very difficult for you to handle. In that moment, in that time frame, having a level of depression is appropriate. It's not a weakness, because you are responding to something that's very powerful in your life. And the way that you are responding is depressing your whole system. And that's different if you're with a psychologist or you're having some mental health support. Your psychologist will look differently at something that is a reaction to something that is really going on in your life. That's different than the deeper level of depression where everything and nothing is funky for you. And there's that's an ongoing chronic So it's been long-term, maybe your whole life, maybe a certain phase of your life, but that is an ongoing experience, and it overlays everything in your life, not just one area, all areas. So we want to differentiate between the level 1 of negative emotional thought and responses, which is to a situation, and it's usually short term. So it's happening now and it's bringing this up, and then it passes. And we'll look at different ways of intervention with that vis-a-vis the second level, which is the chronic persistent level of malaise. We'll call it a chronic malaise that's happening in you, that everything that comes through, no matter what aspect of your life, it's rising in anger or a frustration. It's a deeper level. Some of the terms that we use with that are anxiety, fear, apathy, contempt, hate, disgust, like those edgier words that are more deeply ingrained. They're not just a response to the outside world. They're a response that has built up inside of you to the world. And it may be part of experiences that you've had growing up that were very difficult and unpleasant for you, that have festered and not been dealt with. It might be a disappointment with yourself that's been going on since childhood, what you heard, what you were told. Jealousy is another one of those, insecurity, guilt, regret, shame. These are all deeper levels of emotional response. And most of these are held ongoing, like they're a part of your life. So you're carrying them with you. They're not a response to a situation. So that's a different level, and it requires a different level of support. So when we look at these, the most important thing for us to remember is that our emotions are trying to tell us something. They're trying to tell us that there's something that's not, we have an equilibrium that's off. And when we try to suppress that or ignore it, it's like fanning the flame. We're not making it better by pressing it down and gritting your teeth and saying, I'm not going to respond to that. That's not really helping your whole system come to terms with why and how it's responding. So what we have is an opportunity in our consciousness of our endeavor to be conscious in our lives is to start paying attention to the places where you feel you're having negative thoughts, whether they're repetitive or they're based on a situation. Start analyzing it and seeing, is this just this situation? And every time this situation happens, do I have the same response? Maybe I need to change the situation or change my involvement or how I show up for it. Or is this something deeper that is spreading through me in a way that it shows up over multiple modalities in my life? It's not just when I'm in this situation. And it brings up a deep sadness and a deep sense of being out of control. And if so, what is that relating to? And what kind of help do we need? You may be able to pull in family members and friends to help you, but you may need more support on a professional level. But the only way that we're going to get to that decision is for us to be in awareness of, am I responding situationally, or is this an underlying chronic, more entrenched experience that I'm having of something, whether it's, self-blame or whatever it happens to be, whatever the language it is that we want to give to it, we need deeper help. So on the first level of situational negative thoughts and emotions, we have a lot of control because it's happening as we relate to and respond to or react to an external stimulus. And this is where all of our meditation and our mantras and our chanting and all of the things that we do as our micro practices can assist us in being able to hold our ground when these things happen. So we're going to be in situations all throughout life where there are times when we are frustrated, impatient, and wishing that things were unfolding in a different way. But that's not a deep sense of sadness. That's just simply a place where we need to take an assessment of, where is my responsibility in this? What can I do to participate in this situation so that I can shift how I'm experiencing it and how I'm responding to it? And it's not about pushing it down. It's not about saying, I'm going to not respond. Oh, I see it's coming and I'm going to not do that. No, we have a response which is telling us something. This is how we really listen to our bodies and to our psychology, and to our health. Our body and our mind and our heart, all of that responds to situations. It's telling us something. What are we listening to? And what do I need to know about the situation I'm in? And sometimes it's nothing, it's traffic. You can't do anything about it. So that's me. I need to learn how to sit in the traffic. It's not an external thing that I need to really solve. I need to find my own ways for patience, my own micro tools that I can use in that situation. And I don't have to solve anything. I just don't want, it's not healthy for me to have that feeling rising in me where I want to strangle someone. It's not really useful. It doesn't give me any benefit of any sort. So for me, I'm taking care of myself as much as I'm taking care of how I express into the world. That we want ourselves to be a clean channel that isn't being inundated by constant annoyance. So taking the opportunity to look at what's coming up for me. My little dog's in the background going, he's having like he's dreaming. He must be chasing something. He's making all this noise. It's so cute. So taking the opportunity to smooth the edges when we are responding and reacting to taking the breath, the 3 breaths or the 10 breaths or counting to 10 or counting to 3, all of those things are trainings for us so that we can be patient. But the important piece is to not diminish that we have something rising in us, and let's pay attention to it, because when we ignore it or we try to put the lid on it, it develops into something chronic. And when it elevates to that chronic level, it becomes something bigger. And now we have a whole disappointment with ourselves. We have a disappointment with the world. We have disappointment with relationships because we are not taking them as they come and unfolding what is our piece and what can we do. We're just leaving them in a clump. And that's really unhealthy for us. So let's start using what rises in us and how we are feeling in response, emotional response to situations, to learn more about ourselves, so that we can figure out what kind of support do I need? What type of discipline do I need to have in my life so that I am able to be a part of the process of me holding this in a different way. I want to be the initiator. I want to have processes that are catalysts for me to be in charge of how I am, not in a controlling way, but in a healthful way. I want to be emotionally healthy. And the ways that we see that we aren't emotionally healthy is in the outpouring of what comes to us. If you're bursting into tears 5 times a day, you want to look at it. What's going on for me? And it may be very obvious and it may not be so obvious. So we want to take a look at what's coming up and how do I take those indicators and work with them. Questions that we can ask ourselves that help us with understanding where it's coming from is, and knowing how serious it is how do I feel after the event's over? Am I feeling regret and shame and disappointment? Or am I just feeling like, well, that was like a train wreck and I move on? But if it's deep inside of you and you're carrying it as something that is a disappointment that I did not show up for myself, it's something to look at, something to look at. Another thing is, am I disappointed in myself? Or am I disappointed in the situation? Where am I pointing the blame? Many of us take on the blame consistently as our own. It's always about me somehow not rising to the occasion. And that just may not be true. So you need to take a look at that. We want to clean up our emotional strength, our emotional foibles, our emotional patterns, so that we're clean. It doesn't help us to interact in relationships and business, in just general life, when we're laden with emotional baggage. And we can clean it up. We can unpack it, repack the things we need, and discard that which we don't. But we have to be aware and be paying attention to what's going on for us. Sometimes we need support. Sometimes we just need a break. We need some time to reassess from a situation, to reassess our expectations, to be more introspective, and to fine tune. And that's all that's really needed. But until we pay attention and then we take the responsibility, that doesn't happen. And if we allow it to continue and continue, it becomes something chronic. And then it's a more difficult suitcase to unpack. So I'm going to leave you this week with the idea that we have micro tools for the everyday frustrations and disappointments that come up just in our normal movement through the world. We have exercise and meditation and talking, writing, giving ourselves a break. If you had a broken arm, you would not ignore it. But mental health has been such a stigmatized category for so long that we diminish what's going on for us emotionally. And it's time for us as conscious beings to step up and take responsibility for all parts of our being, the fullness of who we are, and our emotional well-being is part of it. So this week, pay attention, write about it, journal about it, put down, make notice of when it is that you're feeling this train coming through you in anger, frustration. Give it a term so that you understand, is this a level 1 just response to the situation, or is this a deeper, more chronic level 2 emotion that I need to get some help with? Because I don't want to carry it for the next 20 years. Why do I want to do that? We want to lighten our load because we become pillars of strength in our families and in our communities, and we have an inner experience which surpasses everything when we're not carrying all this baggage. It's joy. That's where our joy is. So good luck this week. I want to hear about it next week.
Thank you, Nirmala. So if you can come sitting on your heels, please do so if you're on the floor. Otherwise, you can sit on the chair with your feet on the ground or cross-legged. And I thought, while you were speaking, what I find always the most powerful is moving these energies. If I'm angry, I act angry. So if I'm sad, I really take time to cry, and I'm going into my emotions so that I can move through them. I'm always saying to my pregnant women, breathe in, breathe through, and breathe out of the sensation. And I think that's the same we can do with our emotions if we are aware and conscious. So I like for us to make fists and then really punch. And fuel this movement with as much anger and impatience, or pissiness, as we sometimes say, and just punch as rapidly as you can. Engage your shoulders, look over the shoulder and of the arm that you're moving backwards. Engage your upper torso fully. Push, push, push. So don't hold back. You can't hurt anybody. You can just release here. And this is a safe way to get into, through, and out of our anger. For most of us, we can just think about the abortion debate we have right now, and can make us angry. There are so many reasons out there to which we could react. Put all your forcefulness into it. Speed it up. 1 more minute. Speed it up a little more. Last 15 seconds. Good, and inhale, bring your elbows back, palms facing forward. Exhale, open mouth. Inhale, nose. Exhale, open mouth. One more time. Yeah, sometimes we get angry with ourselves because we also don't set boundaries. So the next one is if you feel like I need to set boundary. Yeah, so you exhale, you push out. Inhale through the open mouth, bring your elbows back. Exhale, push to the left. Inhale towards your body. Exhale, open mouth forward. Inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. All this deep breathing will create an energy shift inside of you, which means your emotions are changing. When we are depressed, what often happens that we are really restricted in our entire body expression. You see depressed people, there's not much movement there. The movement can set us free. See what you want to push out of your space. So we worked on anger, now we're setting boundaries. Just a little bit more. Speed it up, last 15 seconds. Good, and inhale, bring your elbows back. Exhale, open mouth. 2 more times. Well, you might experience already so much more opening in your chest. So grief, all that sits in our heart center, especially in our lungs. So we want to work the lungs by interlacing our fingers. You bring your palms forward and then inhale, exhale. Just go with your arms to parallel. I'm not going down. Just consciously lifting my diaphragm, opening up my lungs to move through resentment and grief so that we make space for joy. Keep your head nicely up. Yeah, so if you bring your head down, you're restricting your lungs again. It's crucial that your chin is at least parallel, could be even slightly upward. Consciously bringing more air, oxygen into your body. That alone will shift your center of feeling. Good, last 15 seconds. Inhale up. Exhale, sweep through your auric field. Rest your hands on your thighs or the knees. Inhale, nose, exhale, open mouth 3 times. Drop your shoulders. Now I want you to think of something that you want to acknowledge yourself for, because it's so easy for us to be hard on us, finding the flaws. So let's find something that you're really proud of. Yeah, and each time something comes to your mind, you kiss the inside of your palm. So you go like, each time a thought of kindness, self-love, grace, self-respect. Just bring that into the palm of your hand so it can go back to the heart center. Really kiss. Hear the sound of your lips touching the inside of your hand. And even if you say, I love you, I will do my best in the future, whatever comes to you. Be generous with yourself. The last 15 seconds, and then you can continue this later. There should be so many more reasons for you. And we're slowly resting our hands back onto our knees, our thighs. And then I want us to wrap our right hand around our left middle and ring fingers. Yeah, so I rest my index and my pinky on top of my right, on the back of my right hand. So I just take my right hand and wrap my hand fully around middle and ring finger of my left hand. Everything else is relaxed, and you bring this mudra against your solar plexus. This will also help you to remove actually anxiety, sadness, and anger. That's a good one. Okay, close your eyes. We will start our chanting. We're bringing our awareness back to our breath. Bringing our hands into prayer pose. Inhale to begin. Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Lots of love to all of you.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I want